Welcome, everyone, to our March 24th, 2025 council meeting. We're going to begin with our caucus. There are no motions. There are 18 first readings. There are 4 first reading passage requests. 2025075. Brian Nelson will address council.
Yeah, thank you. So as promised, we withdrew the previous Direction Home contract resolution after, a month or 2, I don't know, it seems like forever, of trading data back and forth with the folks at Direction Home. We finally got to the point where, and I have spreadsheets full of information, but I provided you kind of an overview. We have all of the data of the 550 roughly participants who are receiving services, primarily the meals, in-home visits, those types of services that Direction Home provides, the providers that each individual is getting them from, the number of units that they're getting. We also kind of went back and forth on staffing levels necessary to maintain these 550 folks, reached a resolution on that. And then the last piece was the carryover dollars that were left available from the $4 million we provided last year and how they would be applied to this year's contract, which in the end all resulted in a 6-month agreement totaling services of $1,627,681.21. They have $1,125,099 of those dollars already on hand, meaning we will need to provide, and we're going to, there are a number of contractual things that were changed in the agreement as well, one of which is this remainder of $627,555.22 will be provided on a reimbursement basis rather than fronting the funds, and there will be a recertification of income verification for the 550 folks that are on the program as well, so we can determine, first of all, who all's on the program, but also looking at are there other options, whether it be Medicaid or veterans benefits or other things that these folks might qualify as we look to, and the number of people on this particular program is capped. So as people leave, the program will wind down. So with that, I feel comfortable with the numbers that back all this. This will get us through June 30th. We'll begin working on the income verification piece with them right away and move forward. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mark, that takes us to what, I mean,
This only runs
Brian.
through, this runs through June 30th.
Okay, June 3rd. Sorry about that. Any questions for council?
So I know you said you're going to do income verification, but do you have a rough estimate on how many of these 500 and so people are actually Summit County residents versus the other 3 counties?
We've been told they are all Summit County residents.
So are there more people being served in other counties that are part of this that we're just not talking about?
No, they so they have a program existing for these services, and I don't remember how many. Is it like 4,000?
No, it was about 1,000 in the 4 counties they serve, and there were about 300 of those were in Summit County.
Yeah.
The funding provided to them expanded it, so these are roughly 550 more Summit County residents receiving this sort of book of business of the services they provide.
Okay.
And the original intent was these were folks above the Medicaid eligibility threshold for which there was not enough dedicated dollars to provide services.
And then forgive my ignorance, what is Monday.com?
It's a project software that we use. So all of the data for the casework, and it was heavily being used. It's heavily being used for all the home modification stuff. Home modification is no longer part of this. We're keeping that money, and we are taking back the 30 to 40 folks that were in the pipeline will be turned over to us to then follow through with the home modification piece of this.
Final question, are these guys enrolled in Unitas and using the platform?
They are not currently, and that's been another bone of contention. So I believe they are taking those steps.
Yes. Thank you.
Enrolling in what?
Unitas.
Okay, Unitas. Okay, I didn't hear that. Are there any questions? Bethany?
Oh, thank you.
You look
That
like-
answered my question on the home modification piece, so thank you.
Yeah.
Joe?
What, when you say the program's going to wind down and its eligibility cap, et cetera, which program are you talking about?
So these 550 residents who receive these services, when we struck out on this endeavor with them, we pledged $8 million over a 2-year period of CARES Act funding, or excuse me, ARPA dollars, to run what we called a pilot project to see what expansion would look like and of these services and other additional and folding in expanded home mod and these other services. So these were one-time monies. We're in year 2 now, and so doing the home mod with the money we're holding back plus this, we get to the end of this year. These folks are still on this plan. The funding at that point is gone, so we have to figure out. This is kind of the winding down of the program and trying to gracefully figure out how we end the pilot project from this.
Christine?
So just to clarify on Councilman Cation, so is this mobile meals, light cleaning? What other services are they providing?
Home care, services, and, some transportation.
But is telehealth part of it?
I don't believe so. I don't believe telehealth is part of this sort of suite of services that are offered.
Is there any further questions? Thank you. 2025076, Phil Montgomery will address council.
Thank you, Madam President. Phil Montgomery from the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget. We have before council an update to the tax certification that was previously passed by council. I think some information was sent out to council about this, but the overview is that when the DD board went out for a replacement levy, the sexennial reappraisal had not happened yet, and all of the estimates were set on the old property values. It was kind of a trifecta of things that happened all at the same time. And so as that went through and what was sent down to the State Department of Taxation was the old rates. So at the time, the DD levy was collecting about $55 million. The replacement levy was estimated at the time to generate $66 million, and currently it's collecting $82 million. So we talked to the Department of Taxation. They said the course of action to take was to have a public meeting, go to the Budget Commission, and then bring a recertification in front of council. So the DD board met and passed a resolution on March the 3rd, requesting to lower the millage rate from 4.5 to 3.59. And then that also went to the Budget Commission on March the 6th. They also passed that same recommendation, and now we're presenting that to council to lower that to get it to what was the intent of what to collect when the DD board took that to the voters. I know Lisa Kamlowski and my repository here if you have questions of them, but with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Jeff?
So making the adjustment, then how does that work for second half taxes? What's the process?
So once this goes back to the Department of Taxation, they'll recertify it, send it back to fiscal, and they'll load that in for the second half tax collections. So there should be a reduction to offset what was meant to be collected in tax year 24 in 25.
Is there any further comments? Okay. Jeff, are you okay with the 2025075, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, and John, are you okay with that one? Okay, next is 2025077, Phil Montgomery to address council again.
Thank you, Madam President. So this is this cycle's appropriation legislation for council. The first one is appropriating additional funds for 2 of the grants that council previously passed under Resolution 47. The next one is, I have a few of them in this cycle, the changing over of the life-to-date funds to the annual fund. So this is just moving the appropriations out of the old fund and into the new. This one actually results in a reduction of appropriations. On the next page, same thing, we're moving life-to-date over to annual. The next one, the legal defenders, this additional $1 million for the legal defender, council will recall, we present to council the public defender's office budget for the county portion, This year, we normally would have the Legal Defender's Office contract with all of the various municipalities for the representation they do for them. And then what happens is the municipality has to pay the full freight to the Legal Defender's Office, who then submits it to the Ohio Public Defender's Office. They send the reimbursement to the county, and then we then have to cut the check for the reimbursement back to the municipality. So to remove that middleman, council gave us authority to contract with the municipalities through the county. It's a three-way agreement with the Legal Defender's Office. So now, when the Legal Defender sends their monthly bill for the municipal work, that bill comes to us at the county, we pay it, and get the reimbursement from the state, and then the municipality will pay us the unreimbursed portion. So it's all coming through the county. The municipalities aren't having to front all the money up front and wait for the reimbursement that's going to come to us anyways. And it just saves us from having to send them a check. So that's what that $1 million is for.
There is a quiz afterwards, too.
Yeah. The next section, I know this number looks big at $100 million, but this is just reappropriating funds from last year. So the biggest chunk is the $69.6 million, that's the opioid fund. And then the $30 million is the DD Permanent Improvement Fund. So this is, again, just taking budget that lapsed at the end of last year and reappropriating it this year. On the next page, we have additional appropriations for change order number 2 with Western Waterproofing. The next one is an appropriated adjustment in the TCAP fund. The last one is appropriating funds for the First Energy Grant for year 25. On the next page, we have appropriation adjustments for the Common Police Court OMAS FY23 grant. We have additional appropriations to move life to date to annual on the ATP funds. The last one on this page is for the engineer. This is appropriating funds for the Steels Corner Bridge project for the engineer. We have another engineering project for the Steels Corner Bridge. And then we have some transfer in and transfer out for the engineer to reimburse the local match on a few of these engineering projects. And on the last page, we have additional funds for the DD Board Administration. This is that nuanced issue where they make a change to a prior encumbrance and the system is removing the budget. So this is us adding it back for this month. And then the last one is an appropriation for the Board of Elections for revenue that they receive from the state to be able to move some expenditures over. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions for Phil? If not, thank you, Phil. John, you okay with that one? Yes. Next is 2025078. This is a committee of a whole. John Schmidt will address council.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like the clerk to read the legislation in its entirety, if you will.
2025-78, a resolution urging Ohio's 136th General Assembly to adopt Senate Bill 109 to provide breakfast and lunch at no cost to public and chartered non-public school students for council and declaring an emergency. Whereas the United States House Ways and Means Committee is considering a budget cut that could take billions of dollars from school breakfast and lunch programs, and whereas the aforementioned cut could impact more than 280,000 students in Ohio alone and 728 schools in the state, according to data from the Food Research and Action Center alone. Whereas on February 18, 2025, Ohio Senators Lois Blessing and Kent Smith introduced bipartisan Senate Bill 109, which, if improved, would provide breakfast and lunch at no cost to public and chartered non-public school students throughout the state of Ohio. And whereas under Senate Bill 109, the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce would be directed to reimburse public and chartered non-public schools who participated in the National School Breakfast Program to cover the gap between the federal reimbursements for free and reduced price breakfasts and lunch, as well as covering those students who would be required to pay because they do not qualify for meal assistance. And whereas a 2023 report from the advocacy group Children's Defense Fund Ohio found that 1 in 6 children live in households that struggle to keep food on the table, and 1 in 3 children from those homes do not qualify for free school meals. And whereas a 2024 poll by the research firm Terrence Group Polling found found that 2/3 of Ohioans support a universal free school breakfast and lunch program for all public school children, and whereas we urge the members of the Ohio's 136th General Assembly to adopt Senate Bill 109 to provide breakfast and lunch at no cost to public and chartered non-public school students, and whereas this council finds and determines after reviewing all pertinent information that it is necessary and in the best interest of the county to urge Ohio's 136th General Assembly to adopt Senate Bill 109 to provide breakfast and lunch at no cost to public and chartered non-public school students. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the County of Summit, State of Ohio, that this council urges Ohio's 136th General Assembly to adopt Senate Bill 109 to provide breakfast and lunch at no cost to public and chartered non-public school students. The Clerk of Council is hereby authorized and directed to forward a copy of this resolution to the Ohio Governor and Lieutenant Governor, the Ohio Speaker of the House, the Ohio Senate President, and the Summit County delegation of the Ohio General Assembly. This resolution is hereby declared an emergency in the interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the County of Summit, and for the further reason to immediately pronounce that this council urge Ohio's 136th General Assembly to adopt Senate Bill 109 to provide breakfast and lunch at no cost to public and chartered non-public school students.
And Councilman Smith, do you have somebody here to speak?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to start, and thank you, Monique. It's hard to believe that there's, in this day and age, that anybody on the entire planet goes to bed hungry, but that is the case, and not only in the entire United States, but in the state of Ohio and in Summit County. And with the cuts that we've heard announced coming down from the federal government to the food banks and so forth, it's going to make it even more critical, this type of thing. Not to mention what it does to a student who has to get into a different line because they're low income or can't afford the food. This way, and I want to commend Senators Blessing and Kent Smith, bipartisan support for this, and they are to be commended, and I would ask council to support this. And I've invited A.J. Harris to come up here. A.J. Harris, you want to come up? He's a school board member in Cuyahoga Falls, and he can speak to the need.
Good evening. Again, I'm A.J. Harris. Thank you, Councilman Schmidt. A.J. Harris, serve on the Cuyahoga Falls City School Board. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak on this critical issue, one that's impacting not just students across the state of Ohio, but right here at home in Summit County. Again, thank you, Councilman Schmidt, for your leadership on this and for council for taking action. Let's be clear. This should not be a debate. No child should sit in a classroom struggling to learn on an empty stomach. But right now, that's the reality for too many families. In Cuyahoga Falls City Schools, about roughly 46% of students are certified for free school meals, nearly half our kids. That makes us eligible for the Community Eligibility Provision, CEP, a federal program that helps provide free meals to students in need. But to fully fund the program without relying on local general funds, we need to reach 62.5%, a threshold we haven't yet met. That leaves some families in the gap of too well off to qualify for assistance, but are still struggling to afford breakfast and lunch. And so the question isn't whether we can do something, the question is, will we? Because when kids go hungry, they struggle. They can't focus, they fall behind, not because they don't want to learn, but because they're kids. And kids need food to grow, they need food to think, and they need food to be successful. So some folks are going to ask, how are we going to pay for this? I always fire back and say, how can we afford not to? Because we are going to pay for it one way or another. We're going to pay for it in lower test scores. We're going to pay for it in higher dropout rates and lost potential. We'll pay for it in emergency room visits and long-term health problems and a weaker workforce. That's not the Ohio I believe in, and that's not what we believe here in Summit County. Here, we step up. We believe every child deserves a fair chance. We don't just talk about the future, we invest in it. And that's why your voices matter. By standing in support of Senate Bill 109, you are making it clear that Summit County believes in its children, that we do not accept a system where a child's access to food depends on their zip code or their parents' paycheck. My hope and my challenge is that folks in Columbus are hearing us, that they understand that feeding our kids is not about politics. It's about values. It's about the kind of state we want to be. So I urge you all to please support this resolution. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here to speak on it.
Thanks, AJ.
Would you like to, AJ, hold on a second. Bethany?
Yes, I had a question for Councilman Schmidt.
Yes, ma'am.
So how would this affect the families that can't afford to pay for their kids' lunches and breakfasts?
They can't?
That are able to afford it? Would they still continue to pay for it, or?
No, it's free breakfast and lunch for everybody. In fact, Mark, where's the list that I asked for that lists all the states that? Yeah, there are 8 of them, I believe. Yeah, there's 8 states throughout the United States that, did I ask you that? 8 states throughout the United States that already do this. And Brian and I, we talked a little bit about this, but touched on this a little bit a while back. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, currently 8 states, thanks, Mark, provide permanent universal free lunches. California, Colorado, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, New Mexico, and Vermont. I mean, this is not something that's some sort of a radical idea. There's a need for this.
Liz?
And you've seen it. You work in schools, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm a part of a group where we provided school supplies to the students in Barberton City Schools and made them available to all the students, just by, raising money through fundraisers and such, on a committee called Magic's Ready to Learn. And, the parents are very grateful. But some of the parents wanted to be able to continue to pay for their school supplies. So I was just curious how, that would work. But
Oh, sure. Well, a good example of that is if you go down to get your veteran's ID from the fiscal office. Anybody from the fiscal office here? I don't see anybody from the fiscal office here. But if you go down and get your veteran's ID, which I did a short time ago, John knows this, you go to pay for it, and it's only $5. And I said, well, here you go. And they said, no, people have paid it forward. So they give $20, and the next 4 people are free. Yeah. So I saved $5. So, I mean, if they want to give, contribute to the program, I'm sure nobody would turn them down.
well, yeah, and on the flip side is you have the families that maybe can't afford it but can't really prove that they can't, and that becomes awkward for those students.
It does.
Yeah.
And you talked about stigma.
It creates a stigma, yeah.
When we spoke on the phone, you spoke of stigma. Could you touch on that?
Well, just kind of what you had mentioned, the separate lunch lines, the kids getting the cheaper meal that's not similar to what their classmates are getting. It does create, it creates a stigma. They're kind of off on their own, and they worry. Sometimes they'll skip lunch just so they don't have to be seen getting, the reduced.
Doesn't do much for their self-esteem.
It does not.
No.
And that's where we start seeing problems and success across the board.
I would just observe in this moment that we recently saw a budget introduced by the state legislature and signed off on by Governor DeWine that includes a $600 million giveaway to the Haslams to build a new Brown Stadium when we have a perfectly good one. And the Hunger Free Schools Ohio Coalition estimates this would cost $300 million. So I think we have the money.
Right.
I think it's there.
We have the money.
We just got to change how we spend it, would be my thought.
That's right.
Mr. Wilhite?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be on as a
Yeah, council as a whole?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, okay. And the other issue is, so that folks understand, my wife is a retired Akron Public Schools administrator, and she currently is a substitute administrator for the Akron Public Schools. And she tells me that, having to monitor the lunchrooms, what a lot of the students are doing is they'll eat what they can, but they try to take an apple, a banana, a pear, whatever they can, home for a brother or sister or brothers and sisters. Yeah. So the impact here is, I can tell you as one who deals with the underprivileged community every day, people know when you care, and they know when you don't care.
Absolutely.
The ones that know the most are the young people in our community, and that goes with them the rest of their lives. It's not just a one and done. They carry that with them the rest of their lives. So it is highly important that this gets taken care of. And thanks, John, for bringing it forward.
Thank you, Jeff. And Rita Bryan said the administration would like to go on as a co-sponsor as
Oh,
well.
okay, thank you.
Just,
I will say, like in Nordonia, when my kids were in school, that I know that my kids went to Nordonia, and I know that the lunch aides that, you know, take when the kids are in line, there was like rules, like the lunch aides, because the stigma of kids that were in a program, there was a lot of teasing going on, so it became an issue, and the lunch aides were not allowed to just, you know, let anybody know that that child was getting a free meal. And that has helped a lot, I know, in Nordonia.
Yeah, okay.
Well, thank you, colleagues, and thank you, AJ.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all again.
And I urge all citizens of Summit County to contact their legislative folks and urge them to adopt this legislation. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, there are no late filings. Routine legislation found on pages 5 through 9. There is no second reading. There is a 1 second reading, 2025069, and we will get to that. Oh, yes. I'll have to go back here a little bit. 2025078. We have one public comment tonight. David Garan, I apologize, sir. David, come on up. You have 3 minutes. Could you please state your name and your address?
I'll be short. David Garan, 682 Delaware Avenue, Akron. I wanted to say I appreciate Councilman Schmidt for bringing this up. I've been encouraging council to bring up issues kind of like this. I just want to have one caveat. You got to realize that we have a Republican majority and you have Matt Huffman. I would put a caveat on this to put it as written or with a clean bill because they have a history of taking something that is good and putting something else that's bad, like maybe getting rid of public schools and just having private schools, you know, something that absurd. So I would encourage you to maybe have the little caveat that says, as written at this point, rather than just, you know, having a blanket support for it. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. There are no third readings. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilman John Schmidt, followed by a moment of silence. Roll call.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Ms. Hyam?
Here.
Mr. Donofrio? Mr. Cajun?
Here.
Ms. Dickinson?
Here.
Mr. Ford? Mr. Wilhite?
Here.
Ms. Darrow?
Here.
Mr. Lacotte?
Here.
Ms. McKinney?
Here.
Ms. Walters?
Here. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for March 3rd and March 10th, 2025? I have a motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
First readings, 2025-75, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute a sub-award agreement with Direction Home, Akron-Canton Area Agency on Aging and Disabilities to continue the provision of additional services to Summit County residents to assist older adults with aging in place from January 1, 25 through June 30, 25, authorizing the expenditure of an amount not to exceed $1,125.99 in carryover funds from the 2024 sub-award agreement and authorizing an additional amount not to exceed $627,555.22 for a total amount not to exceed $1,627,681.21 for the executive emergency.
Madam Chairman, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2025-075.
I have a motion to suspend and adopt 2025075. On the suspension, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
2025-76, a resolution accepting the amount and rate as determined by the Budget Commission to amend the levy of the Summit County Developmental Disabilities Board for the tax year 2024 from 4.5 mills to 3.59 mills, authorizing the necessary tax levy and certifying it for tax year 2024, collection year 2025 to the fiscal officer for the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget Emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2025-076.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt 2025-076. On the suspension, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
2025-77, a resolution appropriating funds in order to meet projected expenditures for the balance of 2025 as set forth in Exhibit A for the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget Emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2025-077.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt 2025-077. On the suspension, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
2025-78, a resolution urging Ohio's 136th General Assembly to adopt Senate Bill 109 to provide breakfast and lunch at no cost to public and chartered non-public school students for council emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2025-078.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt 2025-078. On the suspension, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
2025-79, a resolution confirming the award of the Board of Control, authorizing the purchase of contracts for liability, boiler, and machinery property, and other miscellaneous and necessary insurance coverage for a one-year term from April 15, 25 through April 15, 26, in an amount not to exceed $1,946,393 payable through Wickard Insurance Services, Incorporated, doing business as Wickard Insurance for the Executive's Department of Law and Risk Management Emergency. 2025-80, a resolution approving salary adjustments for various classified non-bargaining employees for the Prosecutor Emergency. 2025-81, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a construction contract with Mailway Paving Company Incorporated for the 2025 Summit County 422 resurfacing program in an amount not to exceed $776,443.60 for the engineer emergency. 2025-82, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Kenworth of Richfield at Sourcewell pricing for two 2025 Kenworth T480 tandem axle cab and chassis dump plow trucks in a total amount not to exceed $274,865.84 for the engineer emergency. 2025-83, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Ken Ganley Ford at less than CUE pricing for two 2025 Ford F-150 4x4 pickup trucks in a total amount not to exceed $86,676.80 for the engineer emergency. 2025-84, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute a loan agreement and any other documents necessary to provide a loan to the Summit Akron Solid Waste Management Authority, doing business as Reworks, for the construction of a new administration building at 1211 Graham Road, located in the City of Stowe, and Council District 3 for a 10-year term and in an amount not to exceed $3 million for the executive emergency. 2025-85, a resolution authorizing the executive to advertise for bids for the medical examiner's two-story curtain wall replacement project located in the City of Akron in Council District 4 for an estimated total cost not to exceed $450,000 for the Executive's Department of Administrative Services hazardous physical plants emergency. 2025-86, a resolution declaring the month of April 2025 as Autism Acceptance Month in Summit County, recognizing all individuals in our community on the autism spectrum and celebrating the numerous ways in which they contribute to our communities and our lives for the executive emergency. 2025-87, a resolution declaring the month of April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the County of Summit and encouraging residents to join in this acknowledgement and wear blue on April 9, 2025 for the executive emergency. 2025-88, a resolution declaring the month of April 2025 as Minority Health Month in Summit County, recognizing the health inequalities facing minority communities and encouraging all health organizations to conduct appropriate programs and activities to promote healthfulness in minority communities for the executive emergency. 2025-89, a resolution declaring April 2nd, 2025 as Start by Believing Day throughout the County of Summit, supporting the Start by Believing campaign, which raises awareness of survivors of sexual violence and encouraging all businesses and residents alike to show their support by wearing teal on April 2nd, 2025 for the executive emergency. 2025-90, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute any documents necessary to accept 2025 Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, NOPEC, Energized Community Grants in the amount of $7,746 with no local cash match requirement for the executive emergency. 2025-91, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of an agreement with PGA Tour Enterprises Limited Liability Company and Call It Companies for sponsorship of the PGA Call It Companies Championship in an amount not to exceed $25,000 for the Veterans Service Commission emergency. 2025-92, a resolution confirming the award of the Board of Control of a purchase contract with AT&T as a best practical source to provide local Centrex telephone and long-distance services for a one-year term from January 1, 25 through December 31, 25, in an amount not to exceed $168,000 for the Office of Information Technology emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt the routine legislation found on pages 5 through 10.
I have a motion to adopt the routine legislations found on pages 5 through 9 on the suspension. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, we do have an amendment on 2025-69 to be considered.
I would move to amend 2025-069 to match the text of the purple sheet that we have.
I have a motion to amend 2025-069. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Second,
Oh, you go ahead and read it. Sorry.
Second reading, 2025-69, an amended resolution authorizing the executive pursuant to Section 177.13 of the Codified Ordinances of the County of Summit to increase the purchase aggregate total for calendar year 2025 for BPI Information Systems to an amount not to exceed $180,638 for the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget and the Court of Common Pleas emergency.
Now, I will move to suspend the rules and adopt 2025-69 as amended.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt 2025-069 on the suspension. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I have one public comment. Dr. Jadala, where'd he go? He's there. Oh, yeah, and I guess two public comments. Dr. Jadala, you have 3 minutes, and could you please state your name and address?
Can I make a suggestion? You guys ever think about getting a clock or something, or no? To like, so speakers, time thingy? No, suggestion. Anyways, my name is Ahmad Jadala, 6184 Wessington Drive, Hudson, Ohio. I'm here today because of some comments that I heard at one of the last county council meetings that were kind of disturbing. An Israeli soldier and citizen came here and spoke to you guys and said some things that were kind of troubling. He said, "Why is Israel being singled out and criticized for its criminal behavior?" He said, "Why are we as people who are asking you to do to divest from Israel bonds? Why are we being hypocritical?" Actually, he reinforced our position. He then went on to say, "Why don't we criticize Russia and Syria and other countries like that, like we do Israel?" He just put Israel in the same category as two countries with some of the most atrocious human rights records. And for his information, the reason we have spoken out against Russia and Syria aggression, and will continue to do so. The thing is, our county does not invest in their bonds. The fact that he compared Israel to these countries should actually reinforce that the county made the right decision. He also said something about Palestinian women, blacks, minorities, and talking about how that they're somehow under oppression in Palestine. I found that troubling because most of the, and I'll show you the pictures later, but most of the graduating class of medical students and dental students in Palestine, especially Gaza, were women. Most of the engineers now and architects are women. But he fails to mention that Israel has been sterilized Ethiopian women and given them contraception against their, without them knowing, for years. He fails to mention that Israel has killed tens of thousands of women and children. Also, he fails to mention that most of those children in Gaza are black children. He also did not talk about, and he was talking about how Hamas was there and oppressing them. There has been an election since 2007, which is true, but is his idea of liberating the Palestinian people, starving them and blowing them into smithereens. That doesn't make any sense. The other thing he didn't mention is with Hamas is the funding of Hamas and where it came from. The funding of Hamas comes from Israel. Israel allows it to go. He propped up the Hamas government, didn't allow for elections, and he thought he was being very smart, and he said the only way to prevent a Palestinian state is to continue to fund Hamas and make sure the two parties never get along with one another. And he put his people in jeopardy, and that's why he's being investigated, and that's why Israel broke the ceasefire again, because they were not happy with it going forward and hostages being released on both sides, because his bloodthirsty coalition would have fallen apart and he would have been out of power. As you know, he's under investigation for fraud and other abuses. And he's clinging on to power to avoid trial. I don't know if that sounds familiar to you guys here or not, but that's what he's doing. Again, this is part of the propaganda on Hasbara that Israel does. They send people here to bring up these points. I can tell you, I'm sorry, I'm taking up too much time, but I'll leave it there. But the other thing, too, is the one person that said, the other speaker said, let's do the right thing and limit the amount of people allowed to comment and to silence us. I mean, that's like bringing a little bit of Israel here to America, which isn't going to happen.
Thank you, Dr. Jadot.
Can I hand these out real quick?
Yes, you could give it to Mark. Next is Sir David Garan again, would like to make a public comment. David, remember your name, address, and 3 minutes.
Sure. David Garan, 682 Delaware Avenue, Akron. So I'm part of a coalition. SUMA is not for sale. And I really hope I sent to all the council members here a letter that could be sent to the Attorney General's office. I would hope more of you would read it. To let you know, we had a press conference. The Beacon Journal did cover it. Unfortunately, they didn't put in their print version, but if you take a look at their online, this was Friday, March 25th. You'll see the coverage of that press conference. We have, discovered actually that SUMA is not in bad a shape as they say they are. So I would encourage you to read that letter. This is still before the Attorney General. And also the Department of Insurance. When I originally talked to the Department of Insurance back in December, they had predicted this would be done by the end of February. We're well into March. And if more people would come up and be against it, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, David. If no further comments, we're adjourned.
Okay, we will call the Personnel Committee to order at 5:16 PM this evening. We have the first item on the agenda, which is 2025-079, a resolution confirming the award of the Board of Control authorizing the purchase of contracts for liability, boiler and machinery, property, and other miscellaneous and necessary insurance coverage for a one-year term from 1/15/25 through 1/15/26 in an amount not to exceed $1,946,393 payable through Wickert Insurance Services Incorporated, doing business as Wickert Insurance for the Executive's Department Law and Risk Management, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Phil Montgomery from the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget. So this piece represents the renewal of our liability insurance, excluding the cybersecurity. That is done separately in July, but it covers all of our other areas of liability coverage. This proposal represents a 2.44% increase, which in the insurance world is pretty good. To make note, the CPI inflation for February of 24 to 25 was 2.8. So this renewal is below the inflation rate. So we're pretty happy with it. The other component of this to note is in our prior coverage, we actually had to carry two separate policies for our law enforcement liability. The original package was $3 million, but we were required to purchase an additional $2 million package to get to the total $5 million coverage. This proposal has all $5 million in the coverage with the same company, which is kind of representing some of the savings that we're getting. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the committee? Any questions from council? May I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Schmidt on 2025-079. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is 2025-080, a resolution approving salary adjustments for various classified non-bargaining employees for the prosecutor and declaring an emergency.
Wait a second, I have a question. Mr. Schmidt is not on the committee?
Oh, Donofrio, I'm sorry. Thank you. So a motion by Councilman Donofrio. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, no, I was just like, hey, wait a minute.
It's getting tough, John.
Do I need to revote?
My glasses checked.
We good? Just
Yeah,
indicate
I would.
Councilman Donofrio, sorry. I heard that voice from down in the corner. Sorry, apologize. Okay.
Mr. Delansky is with.
One of the Johns.
All right, sorry about that. Okay, so we go on, so we're good to go move forward? Okay, so 025-080, so salary adjustments for the prosecutor's office, representing the prosecutor's office, Prosecutor Polkovich.
Good evening, everyone. So thank you for taking the time this evening. This is essentially a continuation of why I was here last November when we approved the additional funds for the prosecutor's office. I kind of mapped out where those adjustments were going to be necessary to stay competitive. So the first thing to stress here is that all these funds were already previously approved through that last budget process in November. This is just going through and allocating through the classified positions, which I'm learning was a lot more work than the unclassified positions. So obviously I want to thank Mr. Klepper and Mr. Montgomery for all their work in making sure we went through everything correctly and make sure everything was classified correctly as well.
Any questions from committee? Just for clarification, so do you think this rounds out what you have to do as far as to stabilize your retention for your department at this point, or do you think there's more moves you're going to have to make in the future?
Well, there would always be more if you ask some people in my office, of course. But no, I think this represents what I believe to stabilize it. And in fact, we were able to do the unclassified folks first, which was primarily a lot of our prosecutors. And we're actually already starting to see a lot more applicants coming into those positions than we'd seen in the past, I'd say 2 or 3 years.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Any questions from other members of council? May I have a motion? I have a motion from Councilman Donofrio on 2025-080. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's no other items to come before the Personnel Committee, we will adjourn at 5:20.
Good evening. I'm calling to order the Public Works Committee at 5:20. We have 3 items this evening. First, we have item 2025081, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a construction contract with Melway Paving Company Incorporated for the 2025 Summit County 422 resurfacing program in an amount not to exceed $776,443.60 for the engineer and declaring an emergency. Ms. Swindell.
Thank you. Heidi Swindell, Summit County Engineers Office. This is going to be our first regional pavement maintenance contract that you'll see. We'll have many, many more in the coming weeks. I would like to take a moment to recognize former Councilman Jerry Feeman, who helped us set up this regional program, and I always like to mention him at the beginning of this process. The 422 is what we call chip and seal. So it's kind of, the cheaper way to resurface roads. For this regional contract, this is the one that the townships can afford. So we get a lot of involvement from them. We're going with Copley Township, Springfield, and Coventry are all joining our program this year. And the county share is around $218,000. There was actually 4 bids received this year, which is more than in previous years. I'm glad to see that, but once again, Melway Paving out of Holmesville, Ohio was the lowest bidder. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the committee? Questions from council? May I have a motion? Ms. Hyam. So moved by Ms. Hyam. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our second item of business is 2025-082, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Kenworth of Richfield at Sourcewell pricing for 2 2025 Kenworth T480 tandem axle cab and chassis dump plow trucks at a total amount not to exceed $274,865.84 for the engineer and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. These are, we buy additional parts for them, but these are the most important parts for our new snowplow trucks. We are trying to buy 2 a year. We're replacing the old ones, like 2 at a time. They'll go to public surplus and be auctioned off. This is at Sourcewell pricing, and so we're buying off of that contract, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the committee? Council? May I have a motion? Moved by Councilwoman Dickinson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our last item of business, 2025-083, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Ken Ganley Ford at less than CUE pricing for 2 2025 Ford F-150 4x4 pickup trucks in a total amount not to exceed $86,676.80 for the engineer and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. We also try to replace between 2 to 4 of our worker trucks, the pickup trucks, every year. These ones are going to be replacing a 1995 Suburban and a 2007. Yes. Oh, I have to look that up. Something in 2007 though. So they're gonna go to the auction house as well. It's time. I'm happy to answer any questions. Oh, and I would like to point out that we did reach out to another place, a car dealership, and the prices were higher at the ones we looked at. So Ken Ganley was still the lowest.
Questions from the committee? Questions from council? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Schmidt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Seeing no other business before the
Thank
committee,
you.
we will adjourn at 5:24.
Planning and Economic Development will open at 5:24. Our first piece tonight is 2025-084, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute a loan agreement and any other documents necessary to provide a loan to Summit Akron Solid Waste Management Authority, DBA Reworks, for the construction of a new administration building at 1211 Graham Road, located in the city of Stowe in Council District 3, for a 10-year term and an amount not to exceed $3 million for the executive and declaring an emergency. And tonight, to tell us more about this project, we have Marcy Kress from Reworks. Come on up. She'll have a brief presentation, which everyone should have a printout of at their seat.
I'm going to work backwards here. Good evening, everyone, council, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for this opportunity to present information on Reworks and to make our request for a $3 million loan for the completion of Phase 2 for a construction project. With the council's approval, I will breeze through Reworks' services and more focus on the project ahead, but hopefully at some point Reworks has touched one of you and in some way, shape, or form through our services. We are one of Ohio's 52 solid waste districts. I have to take this moment to acknowledge Councilman Wilhite, who is the primary and initial executive director of the Summit Akron Solid Waste Management Authority. We just do business as Reworks now, but hopefully I'm able to demonstrate this evening how we're able to build on the very strong foundation and how we're moving that agency forward. But it is our mission to keep material out of the landfill. We have several programs that we offer to do that. I wanted to show everybody the different factors of our community that we impact: residential, business, government, all different factors. Again, we can go into these later. We always want to show you that we track data. We always make sure we track who has used our services, what kind of tonnages we reported. We're mindful of not only those kind of pieces of data, but also how we're educating on our community outreach. Again, we love data at Reworks. It's important, I think, that everybody is clear with our funding mechanism. We are a solid waste district, which under Ohio Revised Code, we receive our funds of a generation fee. We are not a tax-based agency. For every ton of trash generated in Summit County, our agency gets $5 a ton. I wanted to demonstrate how $1 of that is dedicated to community recycling assistance grants, which is about $500,000 every year that goes back to cities and townships and villages to support infrastructure for curbside recycling and organics diversion. And then we have the $4 a ton operating fund that we provide all the rest of the services. It's also an interesting fact for everybody to know that we do between 460 and 480,000 tons of trash every year in Summit County. In the last solid waste plan, which the council was kind enough to help us pass, that's part of our requirement. One of our priorities was to focus on the growth of the agency and services available, including the construction of an administration office and a collection center, which the intent was to collect material recyclable beyond home recycling carts. There's a number of infrastructure facilities in place to divert material for curbside. This is to fill the void of those things that are recyclable outside of that curbside piece. Recycling days is how we're trying to run this. We're calling it that now. And this is, again, for material. The most familiar material everybody has for the Reworks is the Household Hazardous Waste Program, again, established by Councilman Wilhite. We're coming on our 30th year of operation, the longest running household hazardous waste collection in the state, I might add. Those were the good years. Anyway, we want to show council this is to expand upon that very existing and strong infrastructure we have for household hazardous waste. It will not be to continue the household hazardous waste. It will be to allow us the space to offer more materials for things like campaign signs, string lights, glass, styrofoam, things that might not be recyclable for your curbside program. This is a great aerial shot of our property. Back in 2023, we acquired the 4 acres in front of the existing facility. The existing facility is the white building up there, built in 1996, but the whole property now is around 4.7 acres for our expansion of services, and you can see their location is right there by Route 8 in Stowe. These are renderings of the collection center, which is broken out into 2 phases. Our first phase is in process right now. Our collection center's intent is to open additional space. We'll have 10,000 square feet under roof, 5,000 in closed-in walls. Right now, our existing facility is 3,200. We do plan on having that completed by the 3rd quarter. This is just a rendering of what that completion will look like. And what we're here to talk to council today is our phase 2, which is our administration offices. Again, this is a rendering. If you could note, please, we will have a public space available. There is a multi-purpose room proposed for this facility where we can host not only our board of trustees, but any kind of community meetings. It allows us to engage with the public for different materials management, recycling, reduce, reuse, recycle. We're very excited about the opportunity that we will be publicly accessible and available to demonstrate our services. This is a to-date shot of our existing property. This gives you a better idea of where our collection center is. Way in the back is the original household hazardous waste collection. That will remain there as a storage. Hopefully we can utilize it for other reuse purposes. Maybe we have a lot of opportunities nevertheless. The admin building you could see would go in between those 2 facilities. The efficiencies we would have of having the admin on the existing property is we're going to be open to the public. We'll be able to answer questions. It is much easier to manage inflow of trucks and shipments while we are on property. It just is a much more efficient means for us to do so, as well as the public and multi-purpose room will allow us to have people see what services we offer at the collection center. Our initial cost estimate for the project were significantly lower than what came through in our bid process. We did have a reserve funds in the Star Ohio account of around 4.5. It was our intent to fund that through that mechanism. However, with the way the bid process came out and the quotes came back, our projects are exceeding our ability to pay for that through our reserves. Our lowest and best bid came in December, so we're currently under negotiations. Agreement was signed today with a company to do the administration building, and our lowest and best bid came at 2.8. Factors for council to consider is our fiscal responsibility and the timing of this. Again, we just went out to bid for our last administration building. The 90 days does end in March. Hopefully we've demonstrated some fiscal responsibility as far as our agency currently holds no debt. We do have a consistent source of revenue in solid waste and trash, 460 to 480 tons every year. It's been demonstrated. That's a conservative number also. And hopefully we've demonstrated our responsibility through almost 10 plus years of a State of the Auditor Award for our clean audits. So with that, I would answer any questions about our services or the request for the loan to cover our administration project.
Thanks, Marcy. 2 quick questions for you. One, who's the company that won the bid?
Ozan is the one that won the bid for the administration. Sites is the one that won it for collection center.
Okay. And then can someone speak to, I don't know, Phil or Brian, the terms of the loan that we're talking about here?
Yeah, we have put this in place to be a 10-year loan with an interest rate of 6.02%, so the county will recoup some funds that'll go into the capital project fund or general capital fund, which is where this loan would come from.
Okay, thanks. Jeff, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a couple of things. First of all, Marcy, this is well done. I'm proud of it, and I'm in my 40-plus year administrative career, I've made a couple good decisions, but one of the ones right at the top is standing right here in front of us. This young lady, we hired her in from her Purdue days as a intern, and she wowed everybody, not just the board at the time, but members of the community with her energy and her enthusiasm for the environment. And the work you've done since you've taken over as director only supports that. So that's one of the things that I'll take some credit for very proudly. It's important to note that our solid waste district has been leading the way ever since the beginning days. For those of you who remember State Representative Wayne Jones, Wayne passed a tire bill where there is a fee on every scrap tire that's disposed of. That was very valuable to us because over in the city of Norton was the Regenerous tire pile. Over 1 million tires that were thrown out in a field, quite frankly, and created quite a vector problem for the health department folks that are here. I said vector. That means rats and mice and mosquitoes. But in all seriousness, if it wasn't for Wayne's work in creating that fund, we were the first in Ohio to receive, because it was about $1 million grant, because it was $1 a tire. So we abated that site, which now is a soccer field and very much an asset to the city of Norton versus the issue that it was. And then doing the Household Hazardous Waste Recycling Center, we were told at the time we were crazy. People aren't going to put this stuff in their car and drive it to a facility and discard it. Well, we proved them wrong.
Over 4,000 every year.
Yeah, we had 2 sites. Unfortunately, it was a failure in that folks had to wait 4 and 5 hours to get their stuff treated, but it was a success in proving people want to do the right thing. And when you give them the resource to do the right thing, all the nasty stuff goes away. And this is a prime example of that. So again, my congratulations. And the only request I have is just let me know when you're going to cut the ribbon. I'll be there cheering you on.
We would be happy to give everybody a tour of not only the collection, but the administration building. Thank you, Jeff.
Any other questions for Marcy? Joe, go ahead.
I guess my question is, as far as healthy ratio of the income generated by ReWorks to debt servicing, is this going to be perfectly healthy for them to pay this kind of loan?
They still have a $4.5 million reserve, but they use.
Please.
I would ask, Marcy was the one who requested they have the ability to pay it off early with no penalty charges for that. So, yeah.
Thank
I would
you.
also,
paying it off.
Thank you for your
I would also
consideration
tell
of
you
that.
that Mr. Vinay is the executive's alternate chairing the board, and Diane has been the secretary treasurer of the board since, well, I won't say since when, but for a long time. So I'm pretty sure we've got, between Marcy and her board, the right people in place to ensure we get repaid for this.
Any questions? Can I have a motion? I have a motion from Mr. Wellhite on 2025-084. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Marcy. Appreciate it. Next up is 2025-085, a resolution authorizing the executive to advertise for bids for the medical examiner's 2-story curtain wall replacement project located in the city of Akron in Council District 4 for an estimated total not to exceed $450,000 for the executive's Department of Administrative Services physical plans and declaring an emergency. Mr. Stanley.
Hi, Craig Stanley, Administrative Service under Executive Shapiro. We're looking for permission to advertise to replace the curtain walls, which are the walls, the non-masonry walls. We're getting some water coming under and from above, so by replacing them, we'll be able to stop that infiltration. We're also replacing the doors, which over the years have had water issues as well, and the same thing there. We'll stop all the water from coming into the facility. So.
Any questions for Craig? Do I have a motion? A motion from Ms. Hyam on 2025-085. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Planning and Economic Development will close at 5:37.
I'll open Health and Human Services at 5:37. First up, we have 2025-086, a resolution declaring the month of April 2025 as Autism Acceptance Month in Summit County, recognizing all individuals in our community on the autism spectrum and celebrating the numerous ways in which they contribute to our communities and our lives for the executive and declaring an emergency. And we have Mr. Pyatt, and is Mr. Biggs here as well?
He's not able to make it today, just
Okay.
me. Sorry, you'll have to hear just
That's
from me.
okay. Go ahead.
So, all the councilmen Donna Frios that we have up here, since apparently we have multiple. Good evening. My name is Tim Pyatt. I live in Greene. I'm the chairman of the board of the Autism Society of Greater Akron. And on behalf of the organization and on behalf of the board and all of us affected by autism, I just want to say thank you again for this resolution. Your leadership and your repeated support of the autism community leads us down the path to communities that are inclusive and accepting. And I don't think I could say enough how much that means. Autism is a lot of things. Oftentimes, folks affected by autism have a difficult time picking up on social cues. They have a very difficult time creating and maintaining friendships. But one of the ways that we help improve that and we remove those barriers is by increasing awareness and then increasing acceptance. I could go on and on about all the things that autism means and what it is and isn't, but you've had a long meeting already. Two quick stories I think would help show. My son has a lot of difficulty picking up on social cues. He has a lot of difficulty in making friends and keeping friendships. Well, recently in our neighborhood there in Green, we had some new families move in. And it was just kind of funny because one day Sam was outside playing and these kids of various ages came down and just started playing with him. And it was great, and they were doing all the neighborhood kid things that we all probably remember for our time growing up. And then something happened that has never in Sam's 15 years happened. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were sitting eating dinner because, of course, we had just sat down and started eating dinner. And we got a knock on the door, and some of those kids asked if Sam could come out to play. That had never happened before. Now, I've never seen Sam eat so fast. His chicken fingers went down, I think, in one bite. I think he went outside with one shoe on. He was so excited. But not only did that mean so much to Sam, that meant so much to us. That acceptance from everybody around us means so much to everybody. And then the other one is it's the personification of autism acceptance. Just about a week ago, I was outside doing something, and all the kids were there playing, and one of the little boys comes up to me, and we're very open. Sam has autism, and if anybody wants to talk about it, we'll talk about it. And this little boy comes up, I think he's in second grade, and he said, "Hey, Sam's dad," because that's what everybody calls me. "Hey, Sam's dad." And I said, "Yeah." I couldn't remember what the kid's name was because they all look alike when they're in second grade. And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Does Sam like having autism?" And I said, "Well, Sam's had it his whole life, and that's just the way he is, so." And I mean, if this isn't autism acceptance, I don't know what is. The kid looked at me and goes, "Okay." And he just went back to playing. That's where we should all get to, is that autism, any disability, anything that makes us different is just accepted. And we all just say, "Okay," and we just go on with it. So you all hear lots of important things and deal with lots of important issues, and we at the Autism Society of Greater Akron, we in the autism community, truly appreciate the fact that we are part of that. So thank you. We appreciate you, and we appreciate this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, and thanks for your advocacy and your
Thank
leadership.
you.
Any questions for Tim? Go ahead.
I'd just like to go on as co-sponsor, and I
council
want
as
to
a whole?
thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thanks.
Okay. Next up, we have 2025-087, a resolution declaring the month of April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevent. Oh, sorry. I missed the vote. Sorry, Tim. We'll get it for, I promise. Can I have a motion on 2025-086?
So moved.
Ms. McKinney moved on 086. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. 2025-087, a resolution declaring the month of April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the County of Summit and encouraging residents to join in this acknowledgement and wear blue on April 9th, 2025 for the executive and declaring an emergency. Ladies, please.
Good evening. My name is Liz Mangan. I'm a Deputy Director at Summit County Children's Services. We thank you for your support in all things. Our mission is safety, permanency, and well-being for all children served in Summit County in partnership with our community. As you likely know, we are the first responders to reports of abuse and neglect. And last year we served 1 in 12 children in Summit County, which adds up to about 9,300 children. We also handled over 9,000 calls to our abuse neglect hotline, and as of today, we have 828 children who are Summit County residents that are in our care and custody. April is it's National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and the purpose is to raise awareness about the prevention of child abuse and neglect. And we value working with our community and our county to help prevent child abuse. That's definitely the solution, prevention. So we are asking that April be proclaimed as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Also that the residents of Summit County, and of course you all, join us on Wednesday, April 9th to wear blue and support, to show your support for prevention of child abuse and neglect. And my colleague Ann is here.
Good evening. I'm Ann Ream. I'm the Department Director of Community Relations at Summit County Children's Services. Thank you for having us here this evening. We also have a lot of great activities planned throughout April, and as Liz had said, that prevention is the solution. So we believe in prevention. There's a lot of trainings that we're going to have and offer, not just to our staff, our frontline staff, but to our community partners as well. So we're bringing it back what we called Close Up, and it's a close-up look at child safety. So we have a series of 4 mini trainings that we're going to offer throughout the month of April. And again, it's open to our community partners as well. We are offering a faith-based training as well to churches. And so that's called Protect Your Church, Protect the Children. And so we're bringing the churches in to learn how to keep the kids safe in their own churches and to learn a little bit more about our reporting laws, child abuse and neglect reporting laws. Again, on April 9th is Wear Blue Day, and we are partnering again with the Akron Zoo to offer free admission to families and children that day. If you're wearing blue, you get into the zoo free, so it's a great free way to have a little bit of fun with our Join the Movement and wearing blue. And then we end the month with our annual appreciation breakfast on April 30th, and we're honoring a Community Leader Award, a Family Award, which is a biological family that we had served throughout the year that had achieved extraordinary circumstances, and a Youth Achievement Award as well. So we look forward to our breakfast. So once again, thank you for supporting April for Child Abuse Prevention Month, and then particularly Wear Blue Day on April 9th. Are there any questions?
Any questions for council as a whole? Okay,
And
great.
that's a nice shade of blue.
Thank you. We're going to wear blue all month.
Can I save my blue for April?
Hearing no questions, do I have a motion for 2025-087? So moved. Mr. Acott moved on 087. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. A resolution declaring the month, next up is 2025-088. A resolution declaring the month of April 2025 as Minority Health Month in Summit County, recognizing the health inequities facing minority communities and encouraging all health organizations to conduct appropriate programs and activities to promote healthfulness in minority communities for the executive and declaring an emergency. Maria, how are you?
I'm good. My name is Demaria Thompson. I am a project specialist at Summit County Public Health, but I also serve as the local director for the Ohio Commission on Minority Health. I just want to thank you all for even having this resolution. It is very important, especially in today's times, to recognize the differences between us, because that is what makes us a country and what actually makes Akron a great place to live. I just kind of want to speak to a couple things that we're doing to celebrate Minority Health Month. On April 17th, from 12 to 2:30, Summit County Public Health, the Ohio Commission on Minority Health, Full Term First Birthday, CareSource and Akron Pregnancy Services, we're actually throwing a baby shower at Akron Pregnancy Services. Our hope is to serve over 50 pregnant women and their families. So we'll do giveaways, we'll have education, resources from several different vendors. The most important thing that we talked about was just providing a community. Many of the women that go to Akron Pregnancy Services don't have support or enough resources. So that is one thing that we are trying to address. A lot of times women don't have baby items, food, bottles, so Akron Pregnancy Services does a great job of providing a home for them. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to also collaborate. So the baby shower will go from 12 to 1:30. They have a beautiful upstairs area. They'll have free food, and we thought it would be important to address several different things. The first thing is breastfeeding. A lot of women don't know about breastfeeding, or if they do, they have questions they don't feel comfortable always asking. So Project Milk Mission will be doing a presentation and answering any questions that they have. Akron Children's Hospital will also be there. They will be talking about safe sleep. It's very important in that first 0 to 3 months, that families understand the importance of safe sleep, keeping the baby in a separate area, just to prevent any injury or fatality. So that is just something that we really want to hit hard on. And also Akron Children's Hospital, they have a program, Army of Moms. They will be there to kind of speak to the women, and if any of them want to join or have stories, they'll be there to share. Some of the vendors we've had so far that are planning on participating, of course, Summit County Public Health, the Early Childhood Resource Center, Minority Behavioral Health Group for any mental health needs, Birthing Beautiful Communities, which is a doula service that women in Akron and Cleveland use. AMHA will be involved, Fathers and Sons of Northeast Ohio, Care Source, Life Bank will be there to inform and educate women if they want to donate their birth tissue. That can help with like burn victims, scar tissue, using like the placenta and birth tissues that helps people. So if it's up to them, they don't have to do it, but it's just another way if you're not using that tissue anymore to give it to someone else. Project Milk Mission, of course, and then Greenleaf Family Center. On April 23rd, we'll be having our annual health fair. That's at Metro, located at 631 South Broadway Street. That is basically a big party that we like to throw for the community. We usually serve over 150 participants that come in and out of the bus station. Anthem and Equitas will be outside with their community vans, and then we'll have over 40 vendors inside. We'll have DJ Smooth as our DJ. We'll have food. Sam's Club is providing snacks. T-shirts, giveaways, gift cards. We just like to just provide an area where people can come. Different tables will be giving out pretty much anything you can think of. We give out a lot of grocery cards. We give out clothing, food items, just whatever you can think of, that will be there. Some of those vendors participating include Akron Children's Hospital's sickle cell program, Direction Home, AmeriHealth, Access Point, Early Childhood Resource Center, again, the Cleveland Clinic, McDowell Cancer Center, Life Bank, the Calhoun Funeral Home, Molina, Anthem, Summit County WIC, Hope and Healing, Community Support Services, the OSU James Comprehensive Cancer Center, Care Source, Canopy, Equitas, Ohio Bureau of Workers' Comp, Minority Behavioral Health Group, Help Me Grow, our Summit County Public Health Harm Reduction Program and our Navigation Program, SEMA Health Equity Center, Jobs and Family Services, the ADM Board, First Glance, Sam's Club, Pathways Hub, the American Heart Association, Summit DD, and the Summit County Prosecutor's Office. So we are trying to hit every area and give people an opportunity to see and meet those individuals that can provide resources for them.
Thank you so much.
You're
Wow.
welcome.
A lot going on.
Could you share the basics of safe sleep to prevent sudden infant death?
Yes, so I'm not a trained educator, but we do a lot of work with our full-time first birthday program, which is also in Summit County Public Health. So essentially what we are finding is that Black women and their babies are dying at a higher rate. A lot of it sometimes with babies is just cultural. Like you think about when you're a kid or you're having your own kids, you might put them in the bed with you. You might wrap them in blankets. You might leave them unattended on the couch. Just the important thing is that a baby should be in a crib, on its back, nothing around it, because you don't want it to suffocate. You don't want the baby to roll over. They need to be in their own area. So a lot of it is just teaching and communicating with different communities that even though it might be, you know, I slept in the bed with my grandma from when I was a newborn till I was 5, that's not always the best case. And we have a lot of infant death in this county. And a lot, the death is preventable. You don't, that's not a way an infant should pass away. So that is, if we can stop the death, there really should be no infant death with safe sleep. So as long as we keep pushing that, we are hoping to decrease those numbers.
Thank you. That's a good reminder for all of us to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Walters asked for committee as a whole.
Where is this, the baby shower at again?
It's at Akron Pregnancy Services. That address is 715 East Bookdale Avenue.
715 what?
East Bookdale.
Mark, could you get that out to all members of council, please? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion on 2025-088? Mr. McCott moved on 088. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up and final, we have 2025-089, a resolution declaring April 2nd, 2025 as Start by Believing Day throughout the county of Summit, supporting the Start by Believing campaign, which raises awareness of survivors of sexual violence and encouraging all businesses and residents alike to show their support by wearing teal on April 2nd, 2025 for the executive and declaring an emergency. Mr. Prosecutor.
Good evening. Start by Believing is a campaign initiated in 2011, and I believe in the proclamation you can see that there were about 325 sexual assaults reported in Summit County in 2024. The studies show those only represent about 1 in 5 of actual sexual assaults. The vast majority of sexual assaults go unreported. So Start by Believing is essentially a campaign trying to educate communities and people about how to be there and how to respond to those who wind up disclosing a crime has occurred to them or that they're a victim of a crime. By far, the first person to hear that someone's a victim of a crime is a friend or family member, not the police. And this program is designed to tell people that we support you, we hear you, and we start by believing. And so if you are around on April 2nd and you're a Charlotte Hornets fan, or you went to prom in the late 80s, wear some teal.
Any questions of the prosecutor? Okay, hearing done. Can I have a motion on 089? Oh, yeah, council as a whole. Everybody okay with that? Okay, great. Motion on 089. Mr. Kaysen moved for 089. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate it. Okay, and I will close Health and Human Services at 5:55.
Okay, and we'll open up finance at 5:55. We have 3 items. First is 2025-090, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute any documents necessary to accept 2025 Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council NOPEC Energized Community Grants in the amount of $7,746 with no local cash match requirement for the executive and declaring it an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Phil Montgomery from the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget. This is an annual grant we receive from NOPEC as being a member community. We are required to get a resolution from council to accept this award, and they transfer the money. We then pick an energy efficiency project that's taking place in the county and apply these funds to that. So this will put a really big dent in the jail HVAC project.
Committee questions?
That was a joke.
Council questions? Can I have a motion? Councilman Wilhite moves on 2025-090. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 2025-091, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of an agreement with PGA Tour Enterprises, LLC, and colleague companies for sponsorship of the PGA Colleague Companies Championship in an amount not to exceed $25,000 for the Veteran Service Commission and declaring it an emergency.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. This is the second year we've been a sponsor. We were approached last year by Summit County to partner with them to sponsor military appreciation on Friday during the PGA Seniors Tournament. They had a concert that night with a country western band. We threw in $5,000. Summit County threw in, so that was $10,000. We were very unsatisfied with the acknowledgement that we got for that money. It's about bang for your buck. What we got at the concert where you had your stage, we had a placard about that big, little letters that said, sponsored by Summit County and the Veteran Service Commission, and that was it. So September last year, we were having another committee meeting with somebody, unbeknownst to us, the one member at that particular meeting is on the committee for the Firestone PGA, the golf course. We kind of spoke about that. He said, well, that's not right. We're not too happy. So he went back to the rest of the committee for Firestone. And he said, I think we can do you better than that. So we had 4 or 5 different meetings with him and Don Padgett over the process of this last year. and come up to what, we'll sponsor a military appreciation night, but that whole 4-day segment, they will provide us a tent. We'll have our service officers out there to provide information and give to those folks. Plus, they have a big LED screen that's behind the stage. We said, well, we'd kind of like to be on that and get sponsorship. So they agreed to that. All their electronic sponsorship that they will do will be included in that. Anything else, and for that amount of money, we'll also, we wanted to be locked in, if this goes well for this year, to give us an option to, for the same price, to sponsor it next year. And one important reason for that is next year, the ambassador for PGA Golf will be Tiger Woods. He'll be at Firestone next year in 2026, and he'll be 50, and he'll be able to participate as the seniors. So we obviously expect to see a much larger turnout. They had approximately 1,025 active duty personnel who came in that 4-day period, and approximately another 500 veterans who came through that. And again, like anything else, we're doing outreach and trying to get out to those folks. But they had some folks that had the veterans tent, and I said, well, what did they know? They said nothing. Some people come to ask them about how they could find out about awareness, and they had nobody. So we'll have staff there all 4 days. In fact, we got a dog tag making machine. So if anybody wants to have their dog tag remade, or for the kids, we find the kids like that, and we'll put whatever they want on the dog tags for them as well. So that's what we're up to.
Any committee questions?
Any questions?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, you get to come out free. All veterans are free.
Yeah. I
You
get
two
Tiger
guys.
on the side.
Yeah. As long as you're aiming high, I guess.
What about this little CBO here?
Yeah, I know about him. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I have a motion, please? Okay. Councilman Walters moves on 2025-091. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Last item is 2025-092, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with AT&T as best practical source to provide local Syntrex telephone and long-distance services for a 1-year term from 1/1/25 through 12/31/25 in an amount not to exceed $168,000 for the Office of Information Technology, and declaring an emergency.
Stephen Burton, Office of Information Technology. So this is just as the description says, this is our contract for our Syntrex lines. These are ones that we're trying to port off into newer technologies as fast as we can. Unfortunately, we have to work at AT&T's pace. But we are $12,000 less than what we had last year, and we've already canceled some of the other accounts early this year. So we'll continue to see this drop over the year.
Committee questions? Council questions? Okay, Councilman Walters moves on 2025-092. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries, and I'll close out finance at 601.